Okay, first of all, we are not here to dehumanise anyone. I'll clear that up right now.
Hey everybody, we're here today with another one of my rant videos, some of which I actually haven't made in a wee while now. Who would have known that striving to better yourself was gonna put a cap on how many rant videos that I felt the need to turn out?
Or perhaps I'm just getting a bit out of touch. Regardless of!
Here I am with today's controversial opinion being that I don't think beneficiaries should exist in the form that they do now. We are being far too lenient on what society deems to be okay. And I'd like to take a moment here and articulate that while I completely stand by the points and reasoning I'm about to elaborate on in this video, I'd like to also remind that as a growing and ever-changing individual, these opinions may expand or evolve over time. Please bear with me. Alright, now, back to the chase. I recently made the mistake of watching this British Beneficiaries and Dole program documentary. Like, this is why I don't watch TV, you know, because I end up making horrible red videos like this, and all I ever feel is like upset and disappointment towards how we're all going as a whole. It never actually helps cause any change whatsoever. But anyway, I was watching this British Beneficiaries and Dole program documentary thing the other day, which is why I'm all fired up about this, but we claim to be an ever-improving society, right? So why on earth are homelessness and lifelong beneficiaries still a thing? It's a problem that's pretty much as old as time itself, and why is that, you know? Why is this not being, I don't know, fixed, maybe? Because there's this program I'm watching, right? It was depicting like the plights of all these people, like just existing. Not even surviving, not even thriving, just existing in the sludge of the beneficiary support system over in the UK. And like, one guy, he was actually trying really hard. Like, I commend him in all honesty. He was doing everything he could to try and get himself into a job. I felt sorry for him because you'd been watching him sit all these interviews. It was obvious how unprepared mentally he was for the actual process. He didn't have access to any proper transport or dress code or anything that would have made him stand out as, like, I don't know, an interviewee, because he was, you know, without any money and all that. And by the time he actually got the job, he only lasted basically a month before he went and, well, quit. Like, what is this? It's a mental illness, that's what. Like, what are we even doing to our people, our own friends and family? Like, why on earth are we just shipping people around on the benefit with little to no outcome, when there are clearly so many signs of what I can only class as a mental illness that are just going untreated? And you cannot try and tell me that there is not a wider problem manifesting itself here, because I straight up refuse to believe that anyone on the benefit does not need help.
Oh, but what about those just there to leech? What about that?
Well, a healthy human, being in the right state of mind, does not simply dream to live a wasted life. That is not how it goes. Although, fun fact, I was actually researching a bit into laziness a wee while back, because I myself share a few too many lazy quirks I simply cannot stand. But apparently, one of the main causes of laziness is either A, a putting off of something because you're scared you'll get it wrong, or B, not seeing the point of it to begin with. Imagine that! Imagine how things could also look if we started getting behind people, you know? Actively making sure they had the resources and coaching to realistically get into a means of giving back to society, rather than, oh, I don't know, shuffling them around like piles of unwanted and inconvenient trash. Like, has anyone even actually looked into the statistics of how long people even last when shoved into the first paid position work and income provides? Like, does anyone even know if this is actually working long term, or even at all? Or is it just like a never-ending cycle of musical chairs that never really has any lasting effects beyond the continuous stress and misery and damage affecting people's already precarious mental states? Like, imagine if we actually cared, you know, like if we actually cared beyond saying we do, of course, and we actually cared enough to take that deeper look into ourselves to try and figure out why someone may hold little to no desire or energy to slog away full time, always exhausted, always tired, just to pay those never-ending bills and debt, and just never really enjoying much out of a life they don't even have anymore, you know. Because, I mean, I surely cannot be the only one here who can see how easily and how much further ahead we'd all be if we actually, worked with people rather than trying to strong arm them all into all subpar positions that no one even really wants to be in to begin with. I don't know, perhaps it's just me here, but I still shudder, awake at night sometimes, plagued by the horrors of when I was forced to rely on the job seekers benefit. And I know I've already made a video about this, but honey, it's been Halloween, and if you want a scary story, let me tell you about the time when I was on the job seekers benefit. Oh my gosh, that was a hellhole and a half. Like, I mean, there's absolutely nothing nice or pleasant at all about it. Like, it's an utterly dehumanizing and spirit-breaking experience. Like, honestly, I believe when we die, this is me just bullshitting, this is me making up my religion, which I probably shouldn't be doing, like, given the way this is going already, but I'm actually going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say, you know what, when we die, there's no heaven and hell. There's like either an endless ring of hippies just all like sitting in a circle enjoying life and just going at their own pace, and there's like hell where it's just like it's endless job benefit support, and like you wouldn't even have to change anything about it, you just like send them all down, or maybe you could even reincarnate them into this world. I don't know, we're all miserable enough as it is, and you could just put them on an endless cycle of job benefit, like endless cycle of people taking money away at the slightest excuse, or like constantly cooking up new ways to stop your benefit without any notice or any support, and they'll all be like,
oh, have you found a job yet? Have you rung these 42 places and convinced them exactly why you have no dignity whatsoever? Oh, you haven't scraped and begged at their knees. Oh, we're just going to put you through more misery because everyone knows you're not good enough. But you have to actually go out there, beg on your knees and cry and stutter and convince them that you're just there to be abused and treated like you're not worth anything because you were never going to get anywhere with this to begin with. We're just going to treat you like with no absolute respect, not even human. We're just going to inflict more misery and emotional abuse on you until you either get off the benefit because you've decided that life's no longer worth living anymore, or you just find a way to not be our problem because quite frankly we never wanted to support you at all. We're just doing this because we have to, and the sooner you just end everyone's misery here, the quicker we can all make this. And like, to think that people are actually willing to make a culture and base an entire life off that. Like, does anyone else here not see the major concerns of it? Like, honestly, how bad do conditions have to be for people to actually choose that? Like, what are we even missing to make people choose that? And like, how are we all rationalising the continued use of these same old broken methods to rely on? Because no one's happy, that goes without saying. No one's happy. This isn't working for anyone. And honestly, Einstein, he wasn't even kidding when he reckoned that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again but expecting different results. Like, how many homeless people do we have now? How many people do we have on the job seekers? Like, sure, it might not be like 100%, but like, it's so high that I can't even count it. Like, you can't even go out on the street today without seeing someone homeless and down on their luck, because heaven knows we just do not have the support, and we're not willing to make the support to actually, I don't know, try and save their lives. I mean, that's my rant for the day. Don't come crying to me when you wonder why everyone's all off stealing and drug dealing, because the endless hoops and standards to try and meet just to qualify the chance of maybe getting a promise of some support someday. It just becomes too much for us all. It's not realistic, so we have to try and do our own thing. And unfortunately, that's not always the most productive, so see ya!